play rough, bodies collide in a storm of hate. One stumble steps now hard and tough. In the ring, destiny ain't gonna wait. Heroes rise, villains fall apart. Each strike a testament to the pain endured. Chasing dreams from the very start. On proven ground, legends allured. Grit and blood are sacred.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of CWF Voltage Recoil. I'm your ringside pitchman, Donnie Harris Jr., and we are coming off a very impactful edition of CWF Voltage. Alliances were formed, friendships were tested, attacks were given, and as you are hearing right now, this is the theme from last year's CWF Proving Ground 5, where in the main event, we saw former two-time TNA champion Moose in action. And history will repeat itself September 20th at Proving Ground 6, as we will see another TNA superstar, that being blessed first-class Casey Navarro, as he goes one-on-one with the Vision Orion for the CWF Championship, and that will be in the main event at Proving Ground 6, September 20th at the SRC Auditorium. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, welcome to another edition of CWF Recoil. We're going to be covering everything that happened on the latest edition of CWF Voltage. But first, before we begin, at this time, please allow me to introduce my guest for this edition of CWF Recoil, the one and only Marshall Briggs. Marshall Briggs, the owner of the Coastal Wrestling Federation, welcome to another edition of CWF Recoil.
Thanks for having me, Donnie. Thank you so much for having me here on Voltage Recoil, and thank you everybody out there that's going to be watching this event. What do we got this month, Donnie?
All right. Well, we have a lot coming up this month. Of course, a lot happened at the last edition of CWF Voltage. A lot is going to happen at the next edition CWF Voltage. That's going to be July 19th in Crestview, where we make our debut. Also coming up, we have another edition of CWF Voltage August 16th back at the SRC Auditorium. And of course, we'll talk more about a special event that we have coming up August 30th of that month. August is going to be very busy for us, but it is all building blocks. It is all stops in the road to the biggest event in our calendar year. Of course, we are talking about Proving Ground 6, where, as I mentioned, in the main event, Casey Navarro going one-on-one for the CWF Championship. Casey Navarro was able to defeat the former champion, Justin Flo, in a one-on-one contest. Due to the stipulation of that contest, he gets a shot at the CWF Championship. The man currently holding that belt is a man who you actually now have, shall we say, a little bit of issues with. Of course, I am talking about the Vision Orion.
Wow, that was quite the introduction, Donnie. It was about way long, but that's all right. That's all right. So we're here, we're live. So we'll see how this goes. Folks, if you have anything to say, be sure to comment below. We will comment on your comments as much as we can. But as you said, a very busy calendar coming up for CWF. We've got July 19th. We're going to try again for our debut at the Crestview Community Center. Of course, we tried that in March. Some severe weather came in, and for the safety of our fans and our talent, we chose to postpone that event. But Crestview, we're going to make it up for you on July 19th, because it is going to be one of the best pro wrestling events you've ever seen here along the Gulf Coast. As the Vision Orion, let's talk about the Vision Orion, because as you said, he had some demands that he wanted to make of me last Saturday at Voltage. But you see, one thing he learned is you don't demand anything, you have to earn everything. But what he did earn, even though he did demand, what he did earn was an opportunity to defend that title yet again on July 19th against Jack McGuire, who the fans here at the CWF absolutely love. But he's going to face Jack McGuire for the CWF title in the main event on July 19th, Donnie.
Yes, and of course, as people that watched the live stream saw, Jack McGuire, only a year in this business, that kid stepped up. He showed the grit and determination that any man is willing to do to try to win the CWF championship. A lot of people are saying that he should have won the title had the referee not been knocked out, had there not been interference from his former tag team partner in Colt Manson. Now, as we said, during the match, the first referee got knocked out due to a friendly fire, if you will.
Yeah.
Another referee came out. Uh, the Vision Orion did retain, but as you said, you have given Jack McGuire another shot at the CWF championship. I think myself, the fans watching, the fans in attendance all felt he certainly deserves it. But a special stipulation to that match, you are going to be the referee in that matchup. If my records are indicate, you have not been a referee in a championship matchup since since the D1 championship when Manimal took on Jet Danger in a one-on-one contest.
Yeah, I haven't been a special referee for a while, but it's important. This match is very important. As you said, had the referee not been knocked down, it's very possible Jack McGuire would be the CWF champion right here, right now. So Orion's very confident. He's one of the best talents we have on the roster, one of the best we've had probably in the history of the company. But I'm questioning whether or not he would have retained that title if it hadn't been for the referee being out last Saturday. So, with that being said, I will be the special guest referee. I know there were some concerns online about my health and the status of my knee. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But I promise you, whether it's me or it's somebody else, there will be a special referee for the main event on July 19th.
Now, you mentioned that you mentioned your knee injury, and I also mentioned, the last time you were a special referee, it involved the Manimal Caden Marks. Now, the Manimal Caden Marks was in action at the last Voltage when he went one-on-one with our current D1 champion, Johnny Romano. Johnny Romano retained, and then we saw Caden Marks basically become a rabid manimal and attack Johnny Romano. Used his finisher on him, low blowed him, left him lying in the ring, and then later in the event, he attacked you from behind. He being Caden Marks after you had successfully beaten Soko in y'all's one-on-one matchup. And then something that I don't understand what's going on here, he walks out and he shakes hands with Dream Girl Ellie, who has her two proteges, Dirk Darkson, and Robin Laveau, are our CWF tag team champions. And
Yeah.
not only that, they kidnapped Soko.
Yeah, that's true. It's very interesting, isn't it? How the tides turns, how the tables turn. But Donnie, it's not the first time that the Manimal has attacked me from behind. You'll think back to Panther Brawl last year when I lost the D1 championship. It was again because the Manimal attacked me from behind. Quite frankly, maybe it's time the Manimal gets a little bit of a receipt. I whooped his ass. I put him through hell almost all of 2024. He quite obviously hasn't learned his lesson. He wants to put his nose in my business once again. So, Manimal, you may have aligned with Ellie and the two tag champions that she has with her, but the fact is, Manimal, you made yet another mistake. Because you see, what you showed me, what Manimal showed not just me, Donnie, but everyone watching, was that he's scared and he's weak. And he showed me that at this point, he might be feeling a little bit desperate because he had a shot. He had his rematch for all these months he's been talking about. He never got a rematch for losing the D1 title. He got his rematch, and what happened, Donnie? He came up short. He lost. Johnny Romano is still the CWF Division One champion. As we approach a very special event in August, of course, August is where we celebrate the man that the title's named after, Division One Van Christopher, who was so close with Johnny Romano. It's going to be special that Johnny will possibly still be the D1 champion come that event in August, but the Manimal came up short. Johnny's still the champion, and Manimal pretty much committed career suicide by attacking not only Johnny but myself and kind of aligning himself with a team that ultimately is going to lose in the end.
And mentioning that team, I don't think we've ever seen a tag team rise through the ranks quickly as Ronan Laveau and Dirk Darkson, of course, under the tutelage of Dream Girl Ellie, in their first match. They attack you and Nathan Sims. You know, you were defending the title. You were helping defend the tag team titles on Rob Ocho's behalf because Rob Ocho was in the gauntlet. They attacked y'all during y'all's matchup, and you just said, that ain't going to happen. We're going to settle it right here, right now. You had the match, and then they were able to beat you guys, you and Nathan Sims, and won the tag team titles. Then in Voltage last month, Nathan Sims and Rob Ocho had their rematch against Ronan Laveau and Dirk Darkson. And once again, Darkson and Laveau were able to retain. You know, going forward, you know, as our matchmaker, as our booker, you know, who do you think, what team are you going to have to combine to try to match with these guys? Because in a very short middle of time, they've become a very formidable team, especially getting a victory over Nathan Sims and Rob Ocho, who themselves are very accomplished in the tag team division. Nathan Sims, a former 3-time tag champion, Rob Ocho, a former 2-time tag team champion.
Yeah, you know, Ronan and his partner there, both of those guys, Dirk Darkson and Ronan, are tremendous athletes. You know, I don't know if you know this, but they are students of the game. They sit under the learning tree of one of the top wrestlers in the country right now, and quite frankly, they are a threat. And humbly, I will admit that myself and Sims may have underestimated them when we went to that impromptu matchup a couple of months ago, where we lost the tag team titles. But that's not an excuse. That's just facts that we underestimated them. Now, moving forward, very good question. Who can stop Ronan Laveau and Dirk Darkson? I really don't know, Donnie. They may hold on to the CWF tag team titles for quite some time. But I will say this: if Ellie, Ronan, and Dirk continue to make enemies, they may just go from being the hunters to the hunted. And that's what I said. Manimal may have made a mistake by hitching his horse to the wrong wagon because, quite frankly, they keep making enemies. Like we saw Cruz Rivera get involved to get some revenge on them and get his hands on them. Things are happening, Donnie. Things are happening here to CWF. And I think sooner or later, they're going to get what's coming to them.
Yeah, and of course we mentioned Cruz. Of course, I mentioned Cruz Rivera. Also helping Cruz Rivera when he ran out there was Jay Villa. Now Jay Villa and Cruz Rivera faced Orion for the CWF Championship 2 months prior. Orion was able to retain. Then, and last Voltage, Cruz Rivera and Jay Villa faced Colton Manson in a triple threat. The winner of that was going to get a CWF Championship opportunity. Cruz Rivera came out on top. And then, I mean, you know, the kid had went through heck. I mean, let's give Cruz Rivera his props. In a very short amount of time, he has really established himself in the CWF. But he gets the victory. He doesn't even have time to relax or rest. Orion comes right out and immediately starts a match for the CWF Championship. Rivera had been through hell. There's no other way to put it. I mean, when you face off against 2 other men in a triple threat match, one fall to a finish, it's an accomplishment in and of itself to get the victory. Orion comes out there immediately, starts the championship match, and retains because he's going up against an exhausted Rivera. You know, as the promoter of this promotion, I mean, you know, he holds the belt, but it's your property. Do you sanction something like this? Do you
Quite
approve of these
frankly,
methods?
Um, Orion wanted an answer. Am I with him or against him? He tried to demand an answer last Saturday at Voltage. Quite frankly, I don't owe Orion an answer on his terms. Like I said, I owe Orion an answer on my terms. Do I condone the way he conducts business? Quite frankly, there's nothing that he's doing right now that Marshall Briggs hasn't done in the past. But the fact of the matter is, the difference between myself and Orion is when Marshall Briggs took action, it's always been in the best interest of the CWF. It's always been in the best intentions. Orion, quite frankly, is doing what's best for Orion. Same with Ellie, same with Dirk Darkson, same with Ronan, and now same with Manimal. But like I said, they keep making enemies. Something tells me something's going to come back and bite all of them in the ass. So let's take a look at the comments here real quick. Josh Hayes says he can't wait until the next show. Josh, we're so excited. We hope to see you on July 19th at the Crestview Community Center, our debut. And again, like you said, I'm going to put the graphic here up on the screen for everybody to see. July 19th, you're going to see Orion defend that title against Jack McGuire yet again, because again, Jack McGuire kind of got screwed in all of that. But there's a lot of things that we've got to do. That's a lot of wrongs we have to right. But at the end of the day, Donnie, we have to make an impact in Crestview, and by God, we are bringing it. As you see on that flyer, you got Bryce Cannon, who's making his return. Really, I think it's his first time in Crestview, but his second time back with us in 5 years. Of course, the Flowhawk, Justin Flow, and so many other CWF stars. But before we get to our next topics, Donnie, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be right back with each and every one of you for more CWF Voltage Recoil.